This is that one audition with Alyshia Ochse. Maybe I should go get my hat, my Blue Ridge hat. So this is like a full-on subtle endorsement for Blue Ridge. I'm so excited to have you back. That was season 1. The original one maybe was before that.
I think it was 2017 because that's when I really figured out my dyslexia. Yep.
It was our Super D conversation. That Super D conversation was incredible because I do think that's like your power cape. You know what I find really serendipitous? And I'm wondering if you've seen this. They just released the cover of Vanity Fair.
Like, they did?
Yes.
Where?
Have you seen it? And it's like Pedro Pascal. Who else? Yeah.
Pascal. Who else is it? Alan Richardson on there?
Let's see. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Because for our listeners, as I'm looking this up, 1996 cover of Vanity Fair. Do you remember who else was shown in that picture besides you?
Tim Roth, Leonardo DiCaprio, Matthew McConaughey, Benicio del Toro, Will Smith, David Arquette, Stephen Dorff, Skeet Ulrich, and Michael Rappaport.
Hell of a list.
Yeah.
Hell of a list. And to see like what each one of you have done in 2 years, it'll be 30 years. That's about right. So Pedro, who else was on here? Coleman Domingo, Bradley Cooper, Greta Lee, Natalie Portman.
Oh, so it's mixed.
It's mixed. It's not just men. That's even how it was titled, was the Boys Club of Hollywood 1996.
That was the leading man of Hollywood.
Leading man of Hollywood.
The new leading man of Hollywood or something like that. And then they had the girls version.
There's a big difference in the industry once you get to the like cover of Vanity Fair that now you're getting offers versus auditioning. And I want to know where your mind sits now with working towards getting an offer or working from an offer place or auditioning. Are you still auditioning?
Well, it's not that I won't audition. It's just that I think I just got rid of the audition process. The way I got Blue Ridge is that I left Hollywood, got rid of everyone that was
literally left, like for the listeners, like left and went to Nashville.
Yeah, I moved to Nashville. I got rid of all my representation here in Hollywood. I'm back there in Hollywood, and I just opened up. The unknown has been so good to me in my life, and I kept hearing stuff that I couldn't handle, and I knew that I couldn't change. So it was like the short-term auditions. The time wasn't there. I would never succeed if given no time, and it wasn't fair. And to me, to my soul, to my spirit, and who I am. So I let it all go. And when I let it all go, something good came.
Well, but when did Ben come knocking? That's your manager. Or did you reach out to Ben?
Yeah, I reached out to Ben. After I let everyone, I wanted to find someone. I took a bunch of meetings and told them about the short-term audition and the shame that was giving me, and I didn't want to be part of any of that. And I wanted to like go to a higher consciousness with it. And I guess they looked at me like, we get it. And they just let go and let me.
They let you go from the audition process and then started putting you in a zone of having meetings with directors.
Yeah. Just really kind of just, it wasn't even that. It just was kind of looking out for me. Like contacting when, Tom Hanks and Gary Getzman got something going, they let me know so I can call those guys and then get in the mix or
get the audition. And if you have an audition, you have a lot more time for it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm so glad. So this is what I wanted to know. I think as an actor, when you get to a certain place too with your career, it's your network, right? We talk about this all the time. Some of the great jobs that I've gotten to do is because of my network, because of my people that I love that are dear to me. You and I started doing auditions 2014, 13 together because I was pregnant with Vito when we did Marauders. So it was us doing that, us knowing that, eventually we want to work together, and it's your network. You just pulled in your network as Tom Hanks and stuff. But when you get to this place as an actor and people are like, hey, will you come do this project with me? Or, hey, I'm going to send you an offer. As an actor who loves to prepare. How do you now prepare to get on set? Because you're kind of auditioning what you think the character is going to be on day one. Let's use Blue Ridge, for example, when that came in. And I love even how that came in.
Well, the way that came in was I let everything go. Like I said, I went into the unknown and I asked my friends to get me work. And Nick Gonzalez set me up with Gary Wheeler. He said, "This guy's great. The whole crew is great. The DP is phenomenal. You would love these people. They're just really grace and they're beautiful." And I was walking down outside of my house here at Old Natchez Trace when he did it, and I just could feel the spirit, man. I was like, great. And then Gary calls me, offers me a film which is about a guy who leaves Los Angeles, moves to a small town in the South, and becomes sheriff so he could be with his family. And I was like, yeah, perfect. And that was the TV movie that turned into the television series.
So then that's the TV movie that goes to Amazon, does really well on Amazon. And now I want to be walked through the steps of now you kind of going from auditioning, since this is called That One Audition, to then you doing a great job, doing a great film that turns into a television show. And now you are getting auditions. So I want to see when you change hats, what do you interpret differently from watching other actors audition, or what some are some of your biggest takeaways with this?
Well, they never let me see anyone's audition. I didn't want to.
What?
Yeah, no,
Why not?
well, I could see the actor's work, and if I don't know their work, I can't judge their audition. So, like someone looks at my audition, they're not going to see the depth of my work. So they may, if they've seen some things before and kind of figure out if I'm right or not, but it's just a completely different animal. Auditions are completely different than performance. So I just won't look at someone's tape. Like I let Gary do that. I let all those other producers do that. I'm the one who could bring people who are right for the roles.
I
You know,
love that, John. I really was curious to see your take on people auditioning, and I love that you're that since you don't feel the most comfortable in that lane, as most actors don't, auditioning, like you said, is such a different beast to being on set that then you don't have that you're not requiring actors to do that and letting their body of work speak for itself. So going from though being on a film and prepping it the way that you did, Blue Ridge, what was your biggest difference then transitioning it into television?
I transitioned when I left. I so I heard things like they're going ethnic. They're going this, they're going that way. And it was all these things that I couldn't change. I couldn't understand why they were doing it. And a lot of things that I actually thought myself to be, that they would say, no, they're going this way. I'd be like, but I am that way. And everyone made me like look at myself a whole different way. I'm an actor who played Latino. I played a Colombian man dying of HIV, AIDS. I was an African American who checked the box as Caucasian in a cold case. Like I was always playing these characters, really, brave characters. So, and they were telling me I couldn't be them anymore. I couldn't be, and I really had to look at myself completely different. I didn't know if it was my representation was being that way or the world was being that way. It didn't matter. It just wasn't working out for me, and I didn't want to be part of it. So what I decided to do was to take all those characters that I ever played, put them in my heart where they belong, and bring that quality of man to each performance. And that performance became Blue Ridge. So Justin Wise is all those characters that I ever played. He has a heart of gold, tolerance beyond anyone. And
How'd you prep? I would love to hear your prep. I love it's just a culmination of all your roles together. But if it's a culmination that requires a little technical prep, you do know what I'm saying? So I'm curious,
yeah, but
Justin Wise, what was
I
your
did this spiritual prep. So I became the
yeah?
leading of my life so that I could be a leading man.
Oh, say that again, John.
I
What?
became, I became a leading man in my life so that I could be a leading man again. And I could be that guy that they put on the cover of Vanity Fair because I had never been that guy.
You don't think you'd ever been that guy? The guy that they put on the cover?
No, I didn't live up to those expectations. Will Smith's right next to me. Look at Will. Look at his career. they became leading men. And I didn't have it in me. I had too much shame that kept me away from it. Even on the cover, I'm holding myself like this.
You're holding yourself reserved. Well, then let me ask you this, because I love this debate is, people like always say they'd rather be typecast than not cast. But inside, I see myself, oh, no, before I answer it, do you see yourself, what kind of career did you want? A leading man career or a character acting career? Where do you put yourself?
I wanted to be the best that I could be,
I
but
love that answer.
I had a lot of things in the way, and I got them out of the way, and now I'm a leading man. Now it just the way has been shown, so I'm just gonna become a leading man again.
Well, I love that. I love that at this point in your career, embracing that.
Yeah, I think that I don't know the leading man. I think that I'm going to bring is one that has a checkered past. He doesn't steer away from it. He brings it front and center, but he comes with a less charged approach to life. He's much wiser than he was before.
I see
So
that in Justin so much, but I also just see the body of work that you've had for so long, and that allows you to really stretch and grow in different areas of misunderstood people
yeah,
and really bring them forth and make them charming and affable. And just, we want to watch more of that always.
yeah.
So, in creating more stories, so you've been working on Justin Wise. I want to know the difference too, as an actor, going from like doing it in a film, and then was it 2, 3 years later that you guys started developing it for television?
Well, it's so crazy because the time with the COVID and the strike, it's just been long time.
It's been
We
a long
made the
time.
movie, and I think 2 years later, finally, we started to. They had the scripts written, but that was after COVID. Like Gary called me up and he said, Jonathan, everyone, the network, everyone wants to turn Blue Ridge into a series, and I just was like, well, do they want me to be in it? Like it's been such a long time. They really want me to be part of it. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. They love you. Everyone loves you. And I just thought that's a great, we had talked about it, but I didn't think it was a possibility. And then it became, and then that stretched out to last year when we shot the first series and everyone got back on board and, it was an incredible set.
You guys,
Incredible. They set such a beautiful tone. It's like, I, there's a part of me as I left everything, I didn't want to bring anything that I didn't want back. And Gary set precedent on the set to make everyone feel really free and empowered, that they could do anything they want. We don't know, we can't give you something that's not there, but you're free to do whatever you want. And in the confines of the storytelling or whatever, let's play, make sure you feel safe. It's not always safe in Hollywood. You're not going to get fired. You're not, you can have issues. It's okay. We're going to love you for it, raise you up. If something goes wrong with you, you're not going to cut you and, throw you to the side. All these kind of things that I've witnessed Hollywood do to me and others that I really love. And people that I didn't love so much, they did bad things to them as well. And I just thought that's the best way we could do it. And we did it.
and
We
you did it so
absolutely did it.
beautifully. Well,
Yeah.
I was just right before this doing a beautiful interview with an intimacy coordinator, and understanding the value of an intimacy coordinator, also just not even just for intimate sexualized material, but even just being able to be there to help an actor kind of be like the foster parent between the actor and the director, or if even how you like to be spoken to would be different. And it's really interesting that you started your career in a time in which the actor wasn't really protected on set, to now being the number one on the set, which you've done several times in different film capacities and stuff, but then to be working on a television show going week to week, where not only you the executive producer, but you're literally the number one on the call sheet. So however you set up your playground for all of us, the rest of the cast and crew, to come in and play, is how well I think the project's going to do. So since this is called That One Audition, and you don't do auditions anymore, I really
I
want,
do audition.
I
I'll
mean,
never get. I'll never get a good job unless I audition. Honestly, I know that.
You really think so? You don't think you'll
Oh
have,
yeah,
as far as
last
the
year.
offerings? Okay, well, then we're going to get to the auditions that you've been doing lately in a second. But I want to hear the great examples of the number ones of the 30-year career that you've had that you brought into this set because you guys did. It was literally pure delight. And I know that there's a lot more that goes into that behind the scenes. And if you'd be willing to share your good examples of what you learned in order to be able to conduct the set the way that you guys did.
Well, when I was making that Blue Ridge TV movie, the kind of the pilot of the whole thing, Gary knew that I had spoken out about Franco Zeffirelli and the sexual abuse that I received in the beginning of part of my career, and that I was part of the committees for SAG with the intimacy coordinators, and I was really working hard to get, make it a better place than the way I left it or the way I found it. I wanted to leave it better than I found it, and he was a big part of all that, and he believed in all of it. So we just set the precedent. I mean, his words are gold. He said, I want anyone, if anyone has any issues, you come forward. And, it's not to say that it was just this, there's, we lost some people in that set. One of our dear members committed suicide 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So it's like, I wish he would have stepped forward and came to me and said something, not that he would, like maybe I didn't give him, it's not about me. But, the real people that, we were a big family out there in Blue Ridge. And, we took
Yeah.
care of one another. Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's what these sets become, right? First of all, I'm so sorry to hear that. I didn't know.
I know.
And you guys, it's like going to camp, right? And we all get to go and be a part of this beautiful collaboration of giving this message that we want to put out into the world or entertaining, however we want to do that. And it does take a very special skill set. I think a lot of people show up to quote unquote Hollywood or show up to this career and want to be a leading man or want to be a leading woman, but they're not aware of the responsibility that takes for several hundred people and the money that is on the line and the stress that comes along with it. And then what is good etiquette? How do you handle that responsibility? And you guys did it well. So that's why I was just wondering if there was one or two things that you would say for leading a charge.
Well, I all the stuff I learned was from Tom Hanks and Pendentium about kindness. So Gary Getzman was a great producer and set really great tones with everyone. But Tom Hanks, his things are like, show up on time, don't be late, and know your lines. That's it.
That's it. That's all. That's all one needs. Okay,
you can do no wrong. That's what
you can't do no wrong. You guys did such a great job. That's what I mean. If nothing else, like we got to go and really play, and I'm so grateful that I got to come play and learn how to play the violin.
I'm so glad you did too. It worked out just perfectly. You get to go see your family and everything, right?
I got and learn a new skill set. That's all that I'm looking to do. So when people we've gotten to play husband and wife, and then we get to play me chasing after you. I'm just.
You know what? I keep bringing you to your family.
John, you do. Actually, let me just go on mic right now and say, and I think if I didn't say it in the last time that we did the podcast, you were the first offer that I ever had that went through. So prior to getting pregnant with Vita, I had a huge offer on the table as an actor, and I was so thrilled and delighted. And then it went away. Doesn't matter. At the end of that week, I found out I was pregnant, or I got pregnant. Here I was thinking my career was over. Over. I was doing a movie at the time, but I was like, I'm never going to work again after this. And I'll never forget the day that you called. I was 7.5 months pregnant, and you were going on and on about, this project that you were going to do and that you would be really interested. And you wanted me to come and anchor that, play that wife part for you, play that vulnerable role. And I was so tickled. And it just so happened to be in Cincinnati, which was 3 miles from my family's house. I got to go home, work at home, do all 6 scenes, whatever it was, all in one day. Didn't have to leave the bed. Didn't tell anybody else I was pregnant other than you. I remember when you called, I was like, well, I'm pretty pregnant, but sure, that'd be fun. But I got to go home, have a baby shower. And, that was the 5th project that I did while pregnant. And I got to really dive into a character that was just
It's
So
intense.
full of hope. You say intense. I don't. When somebody's at the end of their life and that acceptance piece, what a beautiful place to explore while bringing life here is how precious. I enjoyed that character so much and that gift. And then here we are a few years later, and my baby hasn't seen her family in a long time. And like, hey, do you want to come play? Yes. And then getting to go play and learn the violin and bring
Be
my
part of a
baby,
band.
be
You
part of a band. It's
get to
always
have your that thing you do moment.
The TV and film landscape, it's constantly changing, but traditional actor training has largely remained the same.
It's focused on a theater model whose main goal is to help you stretch the expression of your instrument. That's why you can have years of training,
From singing study classes to audition classes.
to even an MFA, and still not be able to book a 2-line co-star.
That's why we created the Bridge for Actors.
A collection of tech, craft, and business online courses to teach you the skills that you need to go from a student of acting
To a working actor.
I mean, I think I told you this last time on mic. That Thing You Do was my favorite film of that year. And part of the reason that I really wanted to become an actor. Tom Hanks always was my number one. But then watching that, and then it's
Well,
just
what was the other
blossoms.
one during that time about rock and roll and Rolling Stones? Because we had shots just in the episode that you are with the bus.
Uh-huh.
What was that? It was the Rolling Stone one. Almost Famous.
Almost Famous. I mean,
Yeah,
you
we had
literally,
almost famous moments for
it
sure.
was so
And
great. I can't wait for everybody to see it. Okay. But we have to talk about, since the last time we did talk about your special quality of dyslexia and you being able, I love the way your brain works. I think a lot of people that have this special D that I always say, they make the most exquisite artists because it's not linear, but no creativity is linear, nor should it be. So now that you have taken your power back and you are auditioning every once in a while for really great things, I'm sure you auditioned for Tom's last.
yeah, but so I'll tell you about that audition since this is about audition. So, I got Tom and Gary, they're my friends. They've been my friends ever since that day that I met them. They've been close friends. We've been through a lot, and it was time I was like, if you got making a series with a bunch of American soldiers, I know they're all younger. That was the biggest problem. But when the older guy, like the commander, that role came up, Tom, he told Gary told Spielberg, and what they did was the one thing they probably don't realize, but they set it for the next day. 8, 9 pages, maybe 12 pages of dialogue.
What'd you
And
do?
I called my sponsor and cried my eyes out. And I couldn't touch the ground. I was scared to death. And I thought that the world had, shamed me again. And my sponsor talked me off the cliff. And I got to work and I figured out how to do the Zoom calls. And I was on with the lady from England and I nailed it. I nailed the audition.
How do you work on auditions? I know a few years ago how you were starting to do it so that anybody that does have the super cloak, the super D, what works best for you when you're having to audition and it is 8, 9 pages? Like, how do you take the material and put it into a format that you can start to digest and build?
Well, the unfortunate thing, they haven't changed, and I understand why. When they send it to me, they have a barcode going across. So in my audio programs, that I try to listen to the material first because I can pick the audio up really well, but I can't read it. But with the barcode going through, it goes. It's like the worst thing
That's
ever.
not helping anything.
It's not helping. So I have to cut and paste and go back and forth. That takes about 5 hours worth of like finally getting it to a place where I can listen to it. And then I just got to go over it over and over and over. And by like the second day, I start going, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh, They want that. So unfortunately, I can't really be free,
Mm.
but the audio definitely helps. And then I got to run it. Like, Jules knew that, it was the next day and it was a big deal. And she saw me crying. So she felt sorry for me. And she read it with me a million times so that I could get a performance that was worthy of being hired. And I didn't get it.
I mean, do we ever really at the end of the day? But since you're that close, do you get to know the reasons why? Like, oh, they went younger, oh, they went older.
I,
Do you seek out that
oh,
information from your quote unquote friends, mentors,
I
people that are
didn't.
hiring?
They just said, no, you're not going to believe this. Then I was in the office at Playtone and I was hanging out with Gary and they're editing Masters of Air. And he goes, oh, you should have played that role.
Uh-uh.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I got a baby at home, Gary. You're like, I got to really use that job, man. I got to really use that job. I'm a 53-year-old man who has children. Like, I need help. It's just like, it's not easy being in Hollywood, but you need help. I didn't ask for help because I didn't think I was worthy of it, but now I ask all the time.
Okay. And this is, I think, part of why people listen to this podcast. And we just did a big show on mentorship. What is the appropriate way to ask somebody for a job, or a very kosher way of letting people know that you are available to work?
Well, yeah, you got to be responsible, and you got to think of, you can't be a narcissist and just think of yourself. You got to think of the whole overall. So when this role came up, I was, look, I'm very, I play a lot of cops, a lot of military guys. I was like, this is my wheelhouse. Like, I'm really good at this. I know I sang in a band for you guys, but I'm really like this guy.
This is who I am now. This is who I am.
This is my brand, and I think I'm really right for this. First, it was Greyhound. I really wanted to be part of Greyhound, so I was really close to getting Greyhound. But then, there was only a couple roles one role really that I could have played, but it would have been not perfect for. And I could see it once it was done. I was like, that was a better choice. I could see that. So the way I asked him was just like, hey man, I really, really want to do this film. I want to do these military movies with Tom, or be part of the band of brothers at this stage of my career. It'd be great. And I think you just need to ask. You got to look at it as thoroughly as you can. There's no reason why you can't be put on tape, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason why they can't look at it and see if you're really right for it. And, I do that when we cast for Blue Ridge. I'm like, this is what we need.
Mm-hmm.
This person we know is going to be willing to do it. And we have so many decisions we have to get made. It's better to have people that can just easily move through. You don't want to have any hiccups because you're moving. You got to get the next thing cast, and Lord knows I'm still trying to memorize my lines from the episode before, and then the new, it's nonstop. So you want people come up, ask me all the time. It's a great thing. I wish people more often would be like, what's going on? You got anything for the series for me? Then I go to Gary. I'm like, you got anything for this? And then I show them your reel, and like the amazing reel that you have.
Thank you.
It was done.
Yeah.
Same thing with Michael Hearn. When I got Michael on the show, I was like, there's a perfect role for him. And I was talking to him and talked to him all the time. And, always wanted to do something with him. And he just got 2 films in Sundance. So, and they were really big deals.
They were.
I literally just presented in front of Gary and the network. And I was like, he's got 2 big movies coming out. He's perfect for it. And they were like, sold.
Thank you, right? Happy, thank you more. So I think that those are the things that I think when people start off early on, right? I want to say that we think that the whole world, that we're available to do all things. Like, right? I show up to Hollywood and I'm like, I want to be a lead. No, you don't know the responsibility, nor do you have the proof to say that you can do it. So making sure that the stories, that you're in alignment to be able to tell that story, and that it's not fully about you, and also to be able to be of service. Just letting people know, hey, I am available, or I'm in this city.
You have to do that. They just have too many people asking them in the moment. You can't expect them to remember. Like great story about Damien Chazelle for Babylon. Julie's holding the boom with the camera, pregnant, and I'm trying to act her. She's trying to read her lines. It was just madhouse during COVID for this audition. And I knew it was good audition. It was fine, but I just was like, I need to meet him. I need to meet Damien because if I met him, he would hire me. And I asked a couple people that I knew in Hollywood, and they gave me his number, and I called him, and he set a lunch, and I flew out to Los Angeles, had lunch with him, and we sat down and had a great, he loves, some of the movies that I did, like That Thing You Do, and he was like, I want to see more of you, and I'd love to get you in this movie. And then it was the attempt to get me in a movie that had already been cast, that was recasting. If one guy fell out, I would have been, if Toby would have fell out, I would have been that role. It was kind of like that, but I had to be there in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't take that initiative. I would not have been in front of him, and we wouldn't have had this experience together because now he remembers me, and he'll think of me for the rest of his career. He'll try to find me. He wants to work.
He does. Yeah. Well, and I also want to give a shout out to who's done my reel and who's also done your reel. So once you've been in the business for a minute, your calling card now is your reel, your body of work. And what you put on your reel is what you're capable of doing, what you want to do, and where you want to go as an artist. And that's what Mark even asks you those questions when he sits down and he takes in all of your stuff, because you have 30 years of a body of work. How do you get that into a 4-minute reel?
Well, whatever he did, he got me the series.
That's what I was just going to ask.
The network people looked at that reel, looked at the movie that I had done for them and said, yeah, he could be a lead in the series. He's great. He's like that. He's the guy on Vanity Fair cover that no one's cast yet. And we're the ones that cast him. Yeah.
Right. So
that reel, and that everyone can have that reel.
Well, and even if you're cutting your own reels at home, I think a lot of actors are like, look at everything I've done. And then you have this 10-minute reel. Nobody's watching it. LA Media Works, not that this is like an ad space for them now, but what he does do is he makes it like a trailer so that you want more. And it just gives you enough to understand, yes, okay, John can play this character, this character, this character, and he can do this, he can carry it like this or do that. And it also sets you up for the work that you're wanting to get.
Yeah, that's you set me up with him. Yeah,
I did. Well,
I saw your reel.
You saw mine, and you're like, and
I've never seen anything like that before.
Right. So one, I just want to give him mad props and respect because he's helped so many people continue to work. So that's the thing. If you're
Damien saw that reel, and he was just like, "Oh my God, Jonathan!" Right? I didn't. Like no one was barking in his ear about me.
Well, that's the thing too. And also when people are casting stuff, like it's people, they're subjective. What did they see last week that they remember, and they're bringing those people in, but they're like, oh yeah, I forgot that so-and-so did this and did that. And that's what the purpose of the reel is. It's supposed to be a highlight reel of all the good things that you've been able to compile together so you can continue to work. So if you're about 10 years into your career and you have damn good footage right now, LA Media Works. LA Media Works LA. I wanted to ask a question that I've never gotten to ask you, even us being as close as we are for so many years. And I think only somebody of your caliber can answer something like this. How do you transition with your types? You started in your early 20s and your type has changed. Even you just saying like, hey, Tom, I can do those military guys. I play cops now. How do you process your reinvention as an artist and what you're able to do? And how do you get other people to see that?
I don't think there's a part of me that can actually do that.
Good answer.
I think that I literally just find my way. I listen to what's around me. I'm a reflector. So I reflect everything that's like, when you're in my life, when you were talking, you opened all this world up to me, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't know all this stuff. Like you, the way you solve things for actors, I never thought about doing that. Even the one audition, like, oh wow, that's really interesting. And then I realized that one audition I had with Tom Hanks changed my life.
Whole life.
So all the people in my life reflected for me. Like Frank Grillo reflects for me. Every single time I'm with him, I'm like, I look at him and I see a lot of confidence in a leading man.
Mm.
I see a very vulnerable, tough guy. And I'm a lot like him. I'm different, but I'm a lot like him. And so that made me be able to kind of recognize where I need to be in my life, or maybe where I wanted to be. But I think more of like, he's Italian. I never really thought about that. Like I'm Italian. Yeah. Like just people reflecting back on me. When Tom comes around me, Hanks, I tell you one beautiful story. You want to hear a great story?
I do. That's
Okay.
a
So
story.
Tom comes to town every once in a while here in Nashville, and I picked him up he was in my truck, and we were going to the typewriting store, right? And I'm driving, and I get a phone call, and I look down, and I'm driving him on the freeway. I'm looking down at my phone, and I go, Tom, it's these producers. They keep calling me about this movie. He goes, well, answer it. So I answered and put it on the speakerphone, and then they say, Jonathan, we want to offer you the role. We need you to fly tomorrow. And so I was like, well, you guys got to negotiate a deal for me. I can't just fly out with that. And Tom started telling me what to do. And I'm telling those guys what to do as Tom is telling me what to do. And then he's like, more money, more money. And we're driving along and I'm telling him what to do.
No way.
And it was a film and I had to get on a plane the next day and go to Puerto Rico. It's like he gets in my truck and next thing I get a movie offer. I'm like, he needs to get in my truck more often. Right?
I was just going to say, next time, can you guys pick me up on the way? Because everybody knows that's been listening to this podcast for 7 years that Tom Hanks is my ultimate, which I know you've graciously said that you're going to allow him to know that this podcast exists. But I wonder
did we ever talk about his one audition? Did he ever have one?
Right. Well, it would have to be the same kind of interview that I did with Lawrence Fishburne. We just did all the way up to the moment that he was no longer auditioning, which was 1992 when he was nominated for the Oscar and the Emmy and I think the Tony all at the same time. And I was like, and that's when you retired from that profession. Yes, Tom Shore. I'm sure he has that one audition, but that's why I also haven't pushed.
He was talking about his latest film he was producing, and they cast this. This is not something everyone should do, but it was very interesting. They cast an actor from a different country, and she gave a performance like nobody's business in this self-tape. And she looked right at the camera the entire time. And I could not take my eyes off of her.
Interesting.
Yeah, not to say that you should do that.
No. Don't do that, actually. That usually shows your lack of professionalism if you're looking right down the barrel, depending on what the project is. But you just never know. Also, different country. He was looking for something.
It was just, she stood out, man, in some big way.
She locked in.
He was like, we had to cast her. We had to cast her.
Well, that's what I would love to talk to him about, is now that he has been an actor his whole life and now he's on the other side, he's seen everybody's tapes, or hopefully seen everybody's tapes. John, where can everybody find you and follow along with you? Because I'm so excited for Blue Ridge to finally come out. I'm so grateful for your open heart and of pushing forward and continuing to make good stories and being able to be the leading man that you are now.
Yeah.
In life and on screen. Yes. I love it so much.
April 7th is when Blue Ridge comes out on the Cowboy Way channel.
Cowboy Way channel. And then eventually Amazon. Yes.
Well, it goes to Cowboy Way channel, which is a fast channel, which you can find. It's smart televisions, Roku, like all the free ads, the ones that run the ads. They put the Cowboy Way channel on those, so you don't have to get a subscription. And then it'll be on INSP, which is our network, and that'll be in July.
Yay!
Then it'll probably sell it to Amazon.
Where can everybody else also follow along with you?
At John Schaech, Schaech.
You're the best. Thank you for always just coming and playing. And thanks for being one of my seeds that has bloomed over and over and over again. It's always wonderful to watch you work. getting to see what you put out there and then being on the other side of the camera or being your support, your set wife. It's great. It's always been great.
Yeah.
It is. It's such a joy. And to get to see you transition into this now and starting to produce and bringing so many stories to the forefront and starting to yeah.
We didn't talk about the role, but the role was so different from the loving wife that he had to let go.
Completely. That's what I'm saying. I'm essentially chasing.
And then you were the girl that there's just no way that he would give up the girl to be with, because he's still madly in love with his wife.
Yep.
Even though he's still fighting to get her back. So Blue Ridge is basically a procedural about a sheriff. Something happens in the small town every single week. He's got to figure out what it is. And what he's trying to do is win the love of his life back into his life.
I mean, there's nothing better. There's no better romance story in a gentleman where it's actually you stay in the course until you get your girl. And what might happen? What are all the obstacles in which you have to go through to get the girl? I love it. You're the best.